Don't you feel like dealing with some openings requires more precision than performing brain surgery? This is how your opponents will feel when you play the Jabava London. Here we have the starting position, and one of the most common mistakes below 1500 is knight to c6, where white simply goes knight b5. Hello, there is no way to defend the c7 pawn. I swear, this opening was genuinely invented to annihilate beginners before the game even starts. Stay tuned because during the video, I'm gonna give away a list of rules specific for the Jabava London that will literally make this opening a walk in the park. Right, everybody, we're gonna be trying out Jabava London, just playing very aggressive, and let's see how opponent will react. We're gonna be starting with a knight because that's more space size. And then we're gonna be playing the move bishop to f4. Already introducing ideas such as knight to b5, perhaps just going for a very deadly fork. And oh my, this is actually so interesting because opponent just played one of the most common moves for this rating range. Which, yeah, mind me, this is actually a big blunder. How is that a big blunder, you may be wondering? Well, if you've been paying attention, I just mentioned that knight to b5 is a huge threat. And before, let's say if you were to play knight b5, he at least has knight to a6 in order to defend. Now that the knight is already committed there, that's no longer a thing. You're gonna play knight to b5, targeting c7 for the second time, and oh man, you're gonna be getting so many funny moves in this position, you have no idea. And there we have one of them. A6. I mean, just look at these guys. Like, the knight and the bishop are just better than peanut butter and jelly. This is how nicely these two guys are combined. And, okay, move 5. We'll literally start the game with an extra rook. I mean, that is not a bad start, to say the least. And, okay, this is still very important because you have no idea how many low-rated players will still mess the situation up. Okay, that happens for a number of reasons. First of all, one of the biggest mistakes that you can be making in this type of scenario is, okay, you take the rook, and then you feel like, all right, I took the rook, but then my knight is kind of in trouble. How am I going to be rescuing this knight? That is usually why most people lose games from being up a full rook. Okay, how is that even making any sense, you may be wondering? Well, you already won a full rook. Just completely give up on the knight, okay? You don't have to keep the knight on the board in order to win the game. What you need to do is you need to know what your goal is, okay? You're thinking, okay, I gotta rescue my knight. No, you should just think the following way, okay? I already have a lot of extra material. I just need to develop my pieces. I need to watch out for counterplay, and as long as I don't allow any weird nonsense, yeah, I'm just gonna be winning the game. I just need to have a safe king, because then I can exchange all the pieces, okay? That is, in a nutshell, how this goes. It is very important that you know what you want to do in certain situations. Okay, needless to say. So, you remember, you just develop your pieces. Knight goes out, okay, he plays e5, he's making me a pretty tempting offer. I'm gonna take. Okay, technically, taking with a pawn is a better move. I want you to forget about that. I want you to prioritize trading pieces. Okay, check, force a knight trade, take with a bishop, keep a simple pawn structure, and then we just want to do e3, bishop e2, get castled. Okay, plays 98. That's not gonna stop me. And really, I want you to completely ignore the black king that is on d7, because another very common mistake that people make in this situation, they feel like, oh, king is on d7, I need to checkmate immediately. This is like literally how low-rated players think while they see this position. It's basically just like a bull that sees the red color. Okay, you're just, oh, I gotta run. I gotta, I gotta be dumb. No, you see the king on d7, you chill. You know, like the king is stuck there forever. They just lost the right to castle. The king is now basically, because it's a middle game, it's moving like a snail. You know, it's gonna take him like 5 days to travel 1 square. The king is very slow. You just need to finish development, then you attack it. Okay, just gonna recapture. Ready to castle. Okay, bishop to b7. I can try and make a desperate effort to save the knight. No, we ignore it. You can have the knight. I got the rook and pawn. Who's going to be better out of this situation? So, okay. Now, we pretty much finished development. Now we need to look for pawn breaks. Okay, we have extra exchange, but the exchange can be highlighted only if we have open files. So look for a good move in this position, trying to activate the rook. And in case you're paying attention, a4 is great. Trying to open up the rook, hitting the pawn. Oh, he just pushed. Clever guy. What next? Do the same. Try to open up a file. He has no way to stop this from happening. And we see a trade. Now we got a file. Whoops. Rook is going to be activating using this path, okay? You have also free pawn that you can take on a6. His king is there. It's weak. It's vulnerable. It's just a completely naked king sitting in like the center of the town here on d7, just kind of exposed. Okay, now that development has been finished. King is safe. Rule number 1, have your king safe. Then you can go attack. Okay, queen takes on g7 can win the rook. No, that should be a good move. No, you gotta pay attention. Knight covers that. I got you with that. Pay attention, please. I know how beginner brain works. Gonna activate the rooks. And then, still, you wanna be careful. Rook c7 looks very tempting, but the knight still covers that. Now the queen too. So I'm just gonna move the bishop because it was attacked. And this is a threat. This is also a threat. Why? Because I was getting rid of the main defender of g7. And now that the knight moved, this becomes available. Pick up the rook. And yeah, you see that opponent genuinely has no counterplay. Because we made sure our king is safe before we started doing any dumb things. Okay, rooks are gonna double up on the open file. Very important and simple fundamental rule. And we just wanna infiltrate by using the 7th rank. Okay, with rook to c7, that's gonna be the crusher move. That just ends the game pretty soon. Remember, rook onto the 7th rank is usually the best square for the rook. It's just basically now putting the enemy king under house arrest. There's nowhere to go. We can see all of his pieces. Like, can take even a bishop if we want, but yeah, take the knight, I guess. Check him. There is check 2. There is bishop d7. There is bishop take. So just gonna do that. And in the meantime, the kind of only worry is not to get flagged, which should be kind of doable since the king is going on a pretty deep journey. I mean, almost looks like the king is going to visit Titanic right now. I know maybe a joke that you guys may not like, but he went all the way down there, you see, and boom, it happens. We get a checkmate. So, okay, main takeaway: you played the Jabava. If he does knight c6, okay, he already lost on move 3. How insane is that? You can get a winning position as early as move 3 if he plays a very standard move, okay? You have to understand like the psychology of why your opponents will be making this mistake constantly, okay? Everybody that just starts chess gets introduced to this concept of, okay, you gotta develop knights before bishops. So, guess what? They develop knights. Too bad the rule was not working in this case, and there you have knight b5, just completely winning. Okay, we play knight b5. But still, a lot of people would go wrong after winning the rook, because then, you know, they see the king on d7, they just start, you know, acting like a dog. You know how dogs are, like, very excited when they see you. I mean, for no particular reason, but just because you're there, they're like, you know, very energized, and they want to, like, jump on you and do all this kind of nice things that dogs do, besides pooping everywhere. Okay, just gonna relax. You gotta get your cat brain turned on. You know how cats are, like very relaxed, and they only come to you when they need something. I'm a cat lover. I have like 3 cats at home, but yeah, just wanna be a cat. Give up on the knight. Okay, the knight is not worthy enough. You make sure you play e3, c3. These are important moves just to get rid of any counterplay. Develop your pieces, get castled, and then you have a pretty easy position. So with that being said, I think we can move on to the following game. Quick pause to let you know that today is the last day on a sale for the Caro Concourse, which now you can get for only 20 bucks. It is one of my biggest projects, which took me nearly 1,000 hours of work. And in case you don't like it, you can get your money back in the first 30 days guaranteed. Now, back into the video. All right, everybody, getting another white game. I'm gonna go d4. Let's see what my opponent has in mind against this. Against specifically our little Jubava London. He plays c6. All right, how nice. We get the Slav defense. Slav defense is usually very common against the Jubava London just because it's stopping knight b5 while also being kind of like a useful move. And already very important that you watch out for the move order. Because the Jubava London seems very easy, but in fact, there are just a few things that you need to like really master within the first like 5 moves that can really set up you right for the future. Otherwise, you make a mistake here and your game can pretty much be ruined in a way that you're not gonna be getting the type of positions that you want. Such a mistake would be knight f3, which is like really a playable variation in case you're looking to go for knight e5 lines. But if you are specifically looking forward to meet bishop f5 with f3, then you should start with e3, which is my main recommendation and usually what most people really love to play as white. Okay, that's in case he plays bishop to f5. He could very much just play e6, play with a bad bishop. What do I know? I have no idea what, Mr. Latrine Water could be up to. Maybe he just plays g6. He could do many things. Based on his following few moves, we're gonna get a very clear idea on how this game is about to go. The bishop lands on f5, you just do f3, okay? You do that, and then, we just start pushing pawns. We're just literally hunting down this bishop. I mean, like it was Halloween. We're just trick-or-treating him. h5. Do you have a candy for me? Can I eat that bishop? He plays h5, aggressive. He just, this is the kind of neighbor that just does not even open the door. Fine. We're gonna go g5. We're going to the next house, attacking the knight. He goes knight to d7. This is very important stuff. Now that you go for this pawn push, okay, what's next? Well, next up we just want to get developed. But you don't want to simply play queen d2 long castle. That would not be ultra efficient. You want to start with bishop d3, okay? Creating big positional threat of taking on g6, just creating a huge weakness that opponent will really have a hard time defending. And when they take, I will recommend you to always take with the queen. I know in this structure specifically, with a pawn on h5, it is quite interesting to take with a pawn. But I bet there is no way you can like genuinely remember and understand when to like take with a pawn, how to balance these things. It's just not because I'm like trash talking you or anything. It's just kind of really tricky to pick up on these details. So for simplicity's sake, I recommend you always take with the queen in the Jubava London when you have these pawns like this pushed. Okay, queen to b6. Now, this is very important moment because this is just like a blind spot for beginners, okay? They literally don't consider the next move, okay? Like if you find yourself in the group of people that would play rook to b1 defend, or maybe even worse b3, we really need to talk, okay? We need to take care of that. All right, you already know that castling is one of our plans, but why can't you just see that the king is gonna be defending the pawn? You have to get into the habit of doing that, okay? This is ultra common, all right? I saw like so many students miss this, you have no idea. And already the opponent just throws a bishop into my face, all right? Thank you, buddy. I'm gonna take your free bishop, appreciate that. We get like rewarded instantly by our move, okay? Queen to a5, targeting this pawn. Now you win free piece, you gotta relax a bit, okay? Maybe getting a little bit overexcited. Just, feel the win. Calm down. All right, you gotta calm down first. How do we defend the pawn? Do we need to defend it at all? I think bishop d6 is nice. Bishop move backwards too. And also, pretty unfortunate for him, the king is kind of stuck in the middle right now. So opponent has a pretty tough time developing. Play c5. As a rule of thumb, we're gonna go takes. And when he takes with a knight, well, he can take on a3 too, which I kind of forgot about. But that's also still not helping. We have easy way to counter that. He takes with a knight though. I'm gonna walk you through how to meet queen a3 after the game. But here we have very simple play. Remember, you already won the game, okay? There's nothing else to prove. So what do you need to do? You gotta go for the queen trade. Boom. Do this, he has to take pretty much, or he loses the knight. But then he's gonna be in a very tricky situation because also a fork is looming. Knight is hanging. He needs to be very careful. Okay, he had only moved in this position, knight back, to kind of survive. I mean, he's still down a piece and would have lost, but especially after e4, but you get it. Pick up free rook. King is in the middle, only one square. Now we're up a rook in the minor piece. And what I would genuinely advise you to do, you literally ignore the knight. Because the thing is, beginners just get so much sidetracked by the knight being on a8 and how to try to rescue the knight instead of really kind of enjoying their huge material lead already. It's like, dude, you made it. You made millions. It's like, it's not gonna be a difference from having, I don't know, like 50 million to 60 million. It's not really gonna change your life, I guess. So you may very well just enjoy life for now, a little, okay? That's how I would translate this into the chessboard now. Exchange pieces, bring rooks onto the open files, double up rooks onto the open file, always great move. Pick up free pawn, and probably he's gonna allow forced mating too. Which, yeah, I guess we'll take it. Has to go king onto f8 only move. And we are able to find the mate because we look for the most forcing continuation. So it's always checks, captures, and attacks on strong pieces. And rook d8 is just a mate. All right. Get a checkmate. Key takeaway. Go h4. On h5 you push. And really get into the habit of mating queen to b6, targeting b2. By long castling, okay? The king defends the pawn. What? You feel like the king is so precious that it cannot defend a pawn? Well, why not? Just do long castle. And here we immediately got rewarded because he just hanged the bishop. Like, I don't know. For some reason, he thought that we're getting pinned. Well, I don't know really what was going on. And by the way, just because I like you, let's just take a scenario where he plays g6. We go king to b1. And now he thinks, okay, this is a pin. I'm gonna do bishop to a3, being very clever. Now you see the eval bar going crazy. I wonder why is that. Feel free to pause the video and try to find the winning move for white. Because here, most of the people would like really feel uncomfortable because of the fact that, you know, black is threatening checkmate in one. Well, how about I told you this was a horrific blunder? Yes, horrific blunder. You have a move that is genuinely attacking his queen, defending the checkmate, opening up queen's path towards the bishop, and he has no way to deal that. He needs to move the queen somewhere, no matter where that happens. You take free bishop, defend your own knight, and that is just winning you the game. Remember these themes, apply them in your games, and with that being said, I think we can move on to the following game. All right, everybody, getting another white game. Gonna open up with d4. Simply going for our beloved Jabava London. And the opponent plays knight f6. Very standard stuff so far. We get the starting setup. And let's see, is he gonna allow the win? No, a6. Okay, see, among this level, it's quite common that they get more familiar with the knight b5 kind of stuff. So a6. You remember what's the important move to play in this position? Well, I'm just going to give you a hint. You want to be able to meet bishop f5 with f3. So for this reason, you're not rushing with knight f3. You play e3 first. All right? If the bishop lands there, you play f3. Okay? Told you in advance. So you remember, whenever the bishop lands on f5, you know, it's like he's going out on a sunny day. But all of a sudden, it starts raining with pawns. g4. Boom. h4. Threatening to win the bishop. Just look at this. Starts raining all of a sudden. Bishop does not have an umbrella to defend. He plays h6, trying to hide on h7. Well, here I don't really like to go h5. h5 is playable. This is a reasonable move that you could be playing if you want. but I'm a fan of bishop to d3, and I'll explain that a little bit later because it's gonna make more sense. Now, we're creating huge threat, which a lot of beginners, by the way, just ignore. We want to take on g6, mess up the structure, then play queen d3. Target that pawn, and this is gonna be a very painful position for black to defend. Now, he takes. And as a rule of thumb, whenever you get these pawns, you always take with a queen. Why? Well, we pretty much just want a long castle. Okay, bishop to b4, I wouldn't be afraid of that. Generally, it's just nice if you can take back with a knight. Important here, you get castle, okay? Our main idea is to push g5, but you don't want to play g5 here because you're going to be literally losing 2 rooks, okay? 1 rook and then the second, which may cause bad side effects. Don't allow that, get castled, and once the rook is defended, okay, very important, rook needs to be protected, then we're ready to advance with g5. And this is like literally a machine of free wins, I'm telling you. Whenever I show this line to somebody, it's genuinely their favorite thing to play. Okay, we go to g5 next. He's pretty much gonna take, because you know how people play in this rating range. Whenever something is capturable, they go for it, you know. They think that, you know, everything that's flying can be eaten. You know, that's pretty much. I don't even need to explain this in greater depth. Now he's gonna take this, because it is how it goes. We're gonna take back, and he's gonna go knight to g8. Alright, which is the first instructive moment of the game. Because now, you get presented with a winning opportunity for white. Actually, 2 moves are just fine here. I think leading to a completely winning situation. So, please feel free to pause the video and try to come up with it yourself. I would say it is very important that you start with rook to h8. Okay? If you are thinking queen to h7, that is also very reasonable, double attack. Probably still much better. And when they long castle, thinking that they have just, you know, escaped the matrix or something, defending the knight and getting king to safety, here's the nasty surprise. Queen h7 anyways. Targeting this and targeting g7, and he no longer has king f8 move defending both. So pretty much I would expect he just runs away, pick up g7 pawn. We have a free extra pawn and a much better position. And this is incredibly easy to reach in kind of like any rating range below 1700. So you can have games going like this. It's like really mind-blowing to me. It's just such a brain-dead opening. It's so simple and just yet so annoying for black to deal with. And okay, now it's just about how to convert this position. He goes knight g6, putting pressure on the rook. Make sure not to forget and hang your rook. We can trade. We can play rook to h7, reinforcing the threat. I think trading is just fine in general. When you got the extra pawn, he's forced to pretty much take with a knight, having everything defended. And now, it is more of a question on how to bring the queen back and, you know, like keep a safe position. I think you can kind of get started with a3, but then the problem is takes and then knight f4 will double the pawns. So I'm not a huge fan of that, okay? Nor a huge fan of queen e7 bishop, queen f6 bishop to e7. So I think it's important to try and rescue the queen somehow, but also watch out for this threat. So we may just start with a prophylactic bishop g3, so we can safely meet bishop takes with knight takes. Okay, that was a tough move to play. Because after having, you know, like so many attacking moves in a row, it's like, you know, you're in a fight, in a boxing match, and you're just like hitting your opponent like 5 consecutive times. You're waiting for him, you know, to get counted down, to fall on the floor, to do something, you know? Maybe just run away from the arena. But no, you just have to kind of slow down a little, and we're gonna be getting the win by points at the end. You don't have to knock him out. It's just how some of these games will happen. You get your pawn. You need to kind of keep a clear head and stabilize. Okay? You can think of this as basically you are at a pretty crowded room at a party and you just go outside for a minute and you just take a breath of fresh air. The same. Just come back with a clear head. And hopefully new drinks. Just kidding. I don't encourage you to do that. Bishop back. Then we bring, okay, just trade. Trading is fine as long as you have the extra pawn. And yeah, I think I'm just going to connect my pawn chain with f4. That's pretty nice. Alternative also, it's e4, putting pressure in the center. I'm not sure which one we're going to go for. Both are quite tempting. Even a move like knight f4 may be not as bad as it may look, even though it's kind of, you know, doubling up the pawns on purpose. I think I'm just going to start with queen f6 now. Preparing knight f4, and then we take back with a queen. That is pretty much the main thinking process behind it. e4, still very much an option, just kind of staying flexible for now. And okay, king to b8. So I don't like this move because king is usually more effective closer to the center in this position. So I think instead of improving the situation, he's making it a tiny bit worse. Knight to f4, threatening to win a pawn. So I would be expecting him to take. I mean, you guys know they take everything that they can. Pardon me. He went there instead. Gonna take on g6, cashing in another free pawn. And then, oh boy, the g pawn. It's gonna be prom night for the g pawn. Please line up the red carpet, because this is gonna be, you know, pretty tricky to spot. I mean, to stop, but you get the point. Why does my English have to be so bad at times? I hate it. All right, we want to do that. I think for him it would be clever to try some kind of perpetual like queen h7, which he does not. But maybe he still tries something. Just gonna go g6, okay? Everything is covered. He should still attempt something like this, you know, trying to come back with some sort of checks. Like at this point, he already lost the game. Yeah, like by points, he's doomed. The very best he can hope for is some kind of counter-attack with a surprising perpetual. He should give up on the idea to try to stop my pawn. If he plays passive, there is no way to like still fight in this game. And I just gotta be a little bit careful. Okay, this is coming. I see it coming. There is still knight d1, but I want to be extra safe. I'm gonna play b3. Ready to go king to b2 on the check. Okay, just a little bit of prophylaxis. Okay, you want to really get into this habit of asking yourself, what is the point behind my opponent's last move every time? Okay, spend at least 5 to 10 seconds trying to understand that. And that alone will really take you pretty far. Because usually the thing with chess is, surprisingly, a lot of your moves are pretty forced based on what your opponent does. So just part of getting to the best move is just eliminating the worst moves, okay? Or the bad moves. Like a lot of people think, you know, like chess masters need to see everything in advance. No, I just get rid of the bad moves first. And then, you know, I just get to choose between very few moves that are interesting. And instead of having to calculate like 20 possible moves, I just have like 2 or 3. And then I kind of make like an educated guess, which is way easier and doable for everybody. I'm going to show you like how knight takes on d4 would have been refuted, because the answer is pretty nice. Now with 2 queens on the board, this is pretty much just over. Opponent also gets flagged. But there was an important little detail at the end, which, by the way, guys, you can try to find by pausing the video, because knight takes on d4, you know. It's threatening queen takes on c2. Okay, that looks pretty scary. What? Are you just gonna go ahead and promote? Allow this? No. Do you want to lose? No, you can't do that. Okay, but then knight takes on d4. What do we play? Do we just go queen g6 defending? Okay, you can play that actually. Gonna give you a winning position, but no. Even stronger, you can make a simple trade. You don't have to like be greedy. Just try to keep 2 queens on the board. You can go queen d4, taking rid of the knight. And then you just promote. Your queen comes back. He literally has no more threats. You're gonna be having an easy win. Once again, elimination process. Okay, I know pretty much on knight takes on d4, I cannot allow queen c2. I just feel that, you know, the counterplay that he's gonna get is like really unnecessary. And therefore, I look for ways to avoid that. So queen d4 just comes very handy. Instead, he played knight to b4, targeting this, and queen to f5, simple move. He no longer has any checks, anything else to like really play for. We get the second queen, and very soon would have also won the game. like a3, get rid of the knight, then win this pawn, and the game just wins itself. So really remember, bishop lands on f5, you play f3, and also don't go up all the way with the pawns. You keep them like this. You play bishop d3, main point being that you want to be able to push g5, and when g5 happens, you want to take it back with a pawn. That is like really the punchline of this whole variation. Because, you know, remember, if you just go careless and push h5, let's imagine the very same thing happens. You get yourself into a position similar to that, and you're like ready to push g5. See, you don't have pawn captures anymore. So really important, do not rush with a pawn. And with that being said, I think we can move on to the following game. All right, everybody, getting another white game. I'm gonna open up with d4 and pretty much ready to play knight to c3 on the very next move. Kinda no matter what he does, of course. If he plays England, we take. In case of c5, we just advance. We have one of the most common moves on the board. I would expect you to face d5 and knight f6 the most on the first moves, and it doesn't really matter, to be honest, because they will very likely transpose into each other, which is like really the beauty of playing the Jubava London. You're just kind of restricting your opponent's options, and you just get this kind of typical gameplay that you can utilize against a variety of setups. Okay, enough with the talk. Let's play some chess. Bishop to f4, starting position of the opening. Knight f6 is transposing to one of the main positions of the variation, where I recommend you hop with the knight. But we get a very interesting scenario because opponent plays bishop to d6. Now, big question here to answer. He's attacking my bishop. How should we react? Now, if you think to play something like bishop to g3, I would actually reward you with a wooden spoon, because that's a reasonable move. Okay, that is very okay if we were playing the normal London, meaning pawn on c3, not knight. But something very important that you want to remember when playing the Jubava London and you get this sort of pressure, you never retreat on g3. You either play knight e5 if the knight was developed, or you just play e3, making the bishop defended, and we're ready to enter this very interesting pawn structure, which a lot of beginners at first have pretty much second thoughts, like the pawn seems to be, you know, a little bit vulnerable on f4. But let me remind you, whenever, let's say, things get ugly, you have at least a move like g3, which is defending, so the pawn is actually never really weak. And the point is, with these two beautiful pawns, black is never really gonna be able to break in the center. Meaning we have full control over e5 square, which is a very important square in the middle of the board. I want you to think of it as it was an apartment in the middle of the city. Now we just basically got the keys for that. Okay, important thing to remember about this pawn structure. White is slightly better as long as there are bishops on the board, okay? So with these bad boys on the board, we're gonna be doing just fine. If black manages to trade them, it's gonna be an equal position. Because usually, this bishop from our opponent has a hard time joining the game. Now, queen to d7 is a strange move. I'm just gonna continue with developing. This is also kind of inviting a knight move to e5. I'm gonna start with the bishop, and if he plays b6, maybe preparing that, which I don't really expect. Then we play knight e5, okay? Other than that, getting ready to castle. Pretty funny that in these type of positions, the computer has a modern approach to literally just push the h-pawn down the board without castling. But we're gonna stick with a simple play here. You don't need to go too crazy with computerish lines. And already, we see knight to e4. Why is knight e4 a bad move? You'd be actually surprised, by the way, to see how many times low-rated players just panic and they are not able to punish this mistake. Whenever black plays knight e4, for some reason low-rated players think, okay, he got knight to e4, that's a legit move, we gotta play around it. No, dude, just open your eyes. How about you try to open up your eyes while playing the game? That is perhaps the best advice that I can give on the channel after hundreds of videos. you just have to captures. We take, collect the free pawn. Okay, he cannot do that. That is why we specifically develop knight on c3 and bishop onto d3, having good control over the e4 square. Okay, just, enjoy life with an extra pawn. Okay, what is the idea? Now that we get the extra pawn, we pretty much try to get rid of all the pieces. But notice, I'm not exchanging like a monkey, okay? You don't want to trade your best piece for your opponent's pieces that are less active. You want to do trades while still keeping a good position. So that's the tricky part about this. And okay, we see that after b6, the knight is now, black basically self-pinned. What do we do with that? We put PP on the PP. And I don't mean like literally, but we put pressure on the pinned pieces. So we go knight e5, and if he takes my knight, we're going to be collecting the rook. Okay, pretty simple stuff. The position was already winning without really any additional help. But the nice thing about this type of rating range is that, as you can see, your opponent will basically do most of the work. You just need to be there, just kind of leave, I guess, be healthy, stay at the board, and he will just literally throw pieces into your face. You just gotta be able to, dodge them, not to get hurt. Then you pick up the pieces, okay? You can take the queen, but it's even better to, take take everything. So pick up the knight, the queen is pinned, and just like that, you can easily get free wins by playing the Jobava London within this rating range, and even against stronger players. So okay, we get to this phase. Rook goes onto the open file. Very important fundamental rule. And now we have a target on e6. So we try to develop our pieces while keeping an eye on that. Okay, now normally because we have only semi-open file, it's very natural to just double up rooks. Now because I'm getting a bit down on time, I was about to say we may use some tactics, but I'm just going to play simple move, and then there is a forced checkmate in 3 moves here, I believe. Because only move king d8, which, is breaking another fundamental rule. Not that he has a choice, but you will notice why it's important to have your rooks connected, which now have just been disconnected. The rook becomes vulnerable, king there. Now we have very little and nice sequence. Queen d5 or queen e6, both work the same, followed by checkmate on the e8 square. Once again, only move king to d8, and there is mate, ending the game. So, yeah. Key learning from this game, remember whenever you get this tension with the bishop onto d6, just stop the habit of playing bishop to g3 whenever you can, just autopiloting. Play e3 instead. I know it may be kind of tricky at first, but you really gotta get used to these positions because this is really one of the main ideas to get an edge with the Jobava London. I mean, you guys know Jobava. If you don't, just Google Badur Jobava. He is not the kind of guy that will retreat. Just keep that sentence in your mind whenever you think about any decision that you want to make. And then, pretty much just get developed and watch out for mistakes. Okay, here he played 94 mistake. In case he was not doing that, and let's say castles, one of the nice things about this structure that you want to remember, the knight on c3 is semi-misplaced. And what I noticed quite often by watching Badur's games, the inventor of the Jobava London, he's still alive, by the way, and he's also streaming, because a lot of people for some reason thinks Jobava is dead. I mean, maybe he is dead inside, but he's still alive. No, I'm just kidding. He's actually a nice guy. So he often maneuvers this knight. Okay, preparing to play c3, get a smooth pawn structure. Then the knight goes to g3, this other one goes to e5, and white has a nice position. So, remember that. And I think with that being said, we can just move on to the following game. Alright, everybody, getting another white game. Gonna be going aggressive down with d4 and then knight to c3. Jobava London about to be on the board. Kind of hinting towards e4. Opponent just plays e6, okay? This is a very interesting setup where, there is definitely many options. You could play e4 and try to transpose into the French, but I recommend you play the move bishop to f4. Just simple, standard Jobava London type of territory. Okay, for advanced players, if you're afraid of bishop to b4, you could also play a move like a3 in this position. It's kind of like a personal exploit that I have, but it's not really what I would really recommend you. Because you play bishop f4, there is a big chance he may just go back into the normal territory by playing the move d5. Where against d5, this is a theoretical position that you will normally reach by d5, bishop to f4, and then e6. Okay, this is one of the biggest lines where I recommend you play the move knight b5. It is just my favorite. Here, most of the people forget to play knight b5 and they make the move e3. Very common inaccuracy. And yeah, it's just he has bishop b4, bishop d6 ideas. You're countering both by doing knight to b5. So pretty much killing two birds with one stone, if you may. Okay, now you can play bishop to d6 or knight. I would say it's 50-50 in this position from my experience. Knight a6 is the better move, but bishop d6 is very common for low-rated games. And yeah, there's also another alternative that pretty much never gets played, which is to check and then to bring the bishop to a5. But here he just plays knight to a6. And now very important because once again, it looks like white just has two moves that are virtually the same and it may not really matter. Pardon me, it actually really matters. You really want to pay attention to this moment. Because white has a choice between knight f3 and e3, which both seem very easy developing moves. But no, e3 is way better because it opens up bishop's path. And you will see that a lot of these guys will play c6, you go knight back, and then you have bishop takes on a6 idea, which was not a thing if you started with a knight. All right, now, important thing that you really want to remember, which is often a mistake that I see for players that just get started with a Jobava. They play e3, and now for some reason black does not play the move c6. Let's say just c5 is in the game. Here, a lot of people that are not, let's say, fully developed with this opening will just go knight to c3, thinking, oh, I gotta move the knight, idea to take this. Yes and no. Okay, what's the point? Point is, you really want to remember this, you retreat the knight if they attack you with a pawn. Otherwise, you just keep a strong knight there. So he plays c5, I'm not gonna mind that, I'm just gonna develop. Okay, play knight f3. Let's see how opponent will play. Now we actually get a very important and kind of fundamental structure of the Jobava because we get to see the good knight on b5 versus the bad knight on a6. And with the pawn on c5, this is just a terrible construction for black because the knight from b5 is going to be very tricky to get rid of. You know, it's that knight on b5 is so annoying, just like that one friend who you never talk with and you talk like once, I don't know, a month and he only asks you for money. Okay, it is this annoying. Play cd4, you just go ed. And with bishop d7, we're always like happy to support a knight. Yeah, see, queen happens. Queen check on a5. Here, it's a simple move. You can just do c3 because key idea is the knight is covered by the bishop. Some people just freak out and forget and they go back, which is a mistake. So, wanna play c3, block you with a pawn. And when bishop d7 happens, see, he's like genuinely trying to get rid of my annoying knight on b5. Now you know, you just have a4, supporting it. He literally has no way of getting rid of that knight. It is just so annoying for him. Imagine he takes with the bishop, he's just losing a piece. And in the meantime, this knight is like completely stuck, okay? He just has to babysit my knight on b5 for the rest of the game. While the knight on b5 is just chilling. The knight is just having a cocktail on b5. It's just, you know, at the beach, just getting tanned. Okay, just plays bishop to e7. What are we gonna do? Do you think we're gonna play any knight d6 kind of move, even though that may be reasonable? No. You have a great knight. Continue developing. Important to play bishop to d3. Now, in case, you know, he kept his pawn on c5, important to play c3 and then bishop d3. So on c4, you have square on c2. Just wanted to mention that one in case you guys were confused about that scenario. Then we have very simple plan, okay? This is almost pretty much like a normal London position because you got this pawns on c3. It's just that you got a great knight on b5, which is like pretty much paralyzing black's position. We have a very simple plan next to castle. I mean, I imagine he will castle. And there is a very important maneuver that you really want to keep in mind when you have this type of positions, okay? I bet like 80% of people watching are not aware of this maneuver, which is just knight to e5. And then, knight to e5, you bring the queen. Bring the queen to h3, targeting h7, and you're gonna get a great attack. I'm gonna go a little bit more in depth after the game because he just made a simple mistake. Why is this a mistake? Okay, we can take with a bishop, but even better, there is pawn takes, double attack, boom. Queen and knight are under attack. He just missed. I can take with a pawn, and he just wait a minute, 600 resigning? What is this? Are we breaking the matrix or something? This guy just resigned. I mean, he has a nice haircut, so maybe he just, yeah, wanted to go out or something, but this guy resigned. Wow. That's stunning. I even had only a minute on the clock and he resigned. Jeez. How is that even possible? Yeah, anyways, assuming he just plays like a move, okay? Something that maybe these guys would play. Let's say he just goes queen back for some reason. Yeah, queen back. We play knight e5. He doesn't really have a lot of moves. Let's just say he wants to reroute this knight for some reason. We play queen f3. He goes knight to c6. We play queen to h3. And just notice how nicely the queen and the bishop are teaming up. Okay, that is a very important maneuver. I'm telling you, like at least 80% of people among like, you know, all levels, even below 1500, even below like 1800, are not playing this maneuver enough, and it is just super powerful. Why is it so powerful, you may be wondering? Well, just imagine black goes knight takes on e5. You immediately won the game. There is the e5, knight e4, you play f3, targeting the knight, okay? Now I know what you may be thinking. Cannot he just take on c5 and then you have to move your king? And you get forked. Boom. You just lost. What is this kind of tutorial? What am I even watching? This guy is teaching me how to lose. I mean, even selling me courses. Why would I ever buy something like that? Well, because there is one move that's very strong. There is rook takes on f2. Eliminating nice black's threat. And when they take back, remember, this thing was there all the time. So white just has a checkmate. In fact, f3 just wins the knight because he has no way to move the knight and keep h7 defended. So in case they are not falling for this, not making the mistake to take, which typically you want to take it with a pawn, you just have a very simple plan to make progress. You can either go bishop g5, take on f6, get rid of the knight, or push the pawn, getting rid of the knight, and then you get this mating construction against h7. So that's really all you need to remember, and make sure whenever you get the knight onto b5 like that, you want to be sure queen a5 is not a problem, so you have it defended in order to be able to play the move c3, just to really get the most annoying knight of all time on b5. So with that being said, I think we can move on to the following game.